Do not be afraid of open and honest conversations with yourself. Hey beautiful, welcome back and thanks for joining me. Today we're going to talk about jealousy and the way in which we invalidate that feeling actually. So for a world of people who love to talk about validation of emotions, we don't really do that, do we? Especially when it comes to negative emotions, much like jealousy. We say things like, oh, don't be jealous, which is weird because we don't really say that about sadness. I mean, we can say that about sadness, but usually the tone for sadness is different. Like, for jealousy, you'd be like, don't be jealous. And then for sadness, you're like, oh, don't be sad. It'll never be, don't be sad. Like, nobody would ever straight up tell you like that with that tone. But when it comes to jealousy, it's like, don't do it. Don't do it. So, yeah, it's just really weird how we relate to this emotion. You see it in the way that pop culture relates or speaks about the sore loser or emphasizes good sportsmanship, even in situations where people don't want to be good sportsmen. So yeah, people say, oh, you should be happy for people, you should clap for people. But like, advice like don't be jealous isn't exactly going to get you in the frame of mind that you need to be in where you'll be able to actually clap for people genuinely coming from your heart. All it's going to make you do is learn how to mask your own feelings and pretend to be happy in situations when you're not. It's very difficult to be happy for people in situations where you'd also like to be. Like, everybody wants to win, but obviously we can't all be winners in every single scenario. So it'll be it's very difficult to be happy in such situations. We measure success in different ways, and some people it's marriage, it's relationships, it's money, it's a job, it's a good family structure, etc. But watching other people do what you wanted to do or live the life that you thought you would have lived right now is very difficult. And we have to acknowledge that it is very difficult. Sometimes you look at people and you think that their life has always been good, and it just seems like it's unfair because of everything that you seem to be going through. And it's so saying to people, don't be jealous. I don't see how that helps anybody in any way. Our biggest strength doesn't lie in our ability to be able to ignore or push down negative emotion. Our biggest strength lies in our ability to look within ourselves and ask ourselves these uncomfortable questions relating to why we feel a certain type of way and how we can overcome. We have to acknowledge our pain. We have to be able to understand how difficult it is and how painful it is to not be where you want to be and not have the things that you want to have. So whenever I'm feeling jealous, I often ask myself, am I not going to be successful? It's like, no, I am going to be successful. It's not just happening now, but what can I do now to try and make sure that I will be successful? Is this person standing in my way? No, they're not standing in my way in any way. If anything, I might be standing in my way, or maybe I've just been dealt a hand, a card or a hand that is harder to deal with than them, but that's not their fault, And then it's like, is it because they are ahead of me? And it's like, where does this need to come first come from? Why do I need to be first all the time? And if I'm not first, what's going to happen to me? And now I'm sitting in a situation where I'm not the first one or whatever. And then it's like, how am I supposed to deal with this? Because maybe I haven't had to deal with it. Now I have to deal with what actually goes on in the world, because like you think everything's working for you. And for a lot of people, they go through the system fairly unscathed, is that a word? Unharmed. And then one day the model really doesn't work for you anymore. And you can be like, oh, maybe I'm a dreamer, so maybe that's why things aren't working out. So maybe I'm really trying, but it's just not my time right now. But does that mean I'm not gonna keep trying? I'm gonna keep trying, and I'm just gonna hope for the best. I'm gonna hope that everything's gonna work out the way I need it to eventually. And it's very hard to wait for eventually when everybody seems to be going through the best of the best right now. I won't lie. But I think this is life, and I think these are the parts of life that we don't talk about. We mask it in, oh, don't be jealous, and then we keep it moving. It's easier to just mask it in something like that as opposed to facing it head on. So what we're doing here when we ask ourselves these questions is we're changing the narrative, and we're forcing ourselves not to be consumed by jealousy, and we're finding ways to cope through those feelings of jealousy that we might feel towards people in certain situations that we would have liked to be in ourselves. So and then you're saying to yourself, why am I feeling like this and how can I be better, you know? And you're creating an environment in your head for you to be able to deal with jealousy and get to a point, a healthy point, where you are actually able to be happy for other people genuinely, without having to feel like you have to be forced to do it in situations where you're not in that headspace. At the end of the day, jealousy is just regret. You know, it's regret over the things that we wanted to do and the steps we haven't taken and things we haven't done. It's a regret over unfulfilled dreams, and just, you know, competing with yourself and looking at yourself and thinking, whoa, when you see so and so excelling at something that you always wanted to do, and you're like, whoa, somebody actually went out and did it. You know, it's a mourning. It's a mourning of the decisions we didn't take, or the decisions we did take that have led us down a different path, or bad decisions that we made along the way. It's a mourning of who we thought we'd be, or where we thought we'd be by now, and just making peace with the fact that you had plans and they're unfulfilled is hard. Making peace with the fact that you thought you'd be in a certain situation by now is difficult. So I totally understand it, and I would prefer to have open and honest conversations about how we feel about ourselves and how that relates to how we feel about other people, as opposed to just saying, oh, don't be jealous, and keeping it moving. Like, oh my gosh. Some cases people have outside pressure, or they're being compared to their friends by their parents or their other friends, or their partner or whoever, and so you have to deal with that outside pressure as well if you're experiencing it, and because that can be fueling how you feel towards other people's success, because of constantly hearing people say this and this and this and this to you, you know. So you have to also face that head on top of facing yourself, which is, I can imagine, can be very difficult. Jealousy is a you thing. It's a you problem. It's personal, and that's why I don't like when people say, oh, don't be jealous. I don't like that. I really don't like that, because it really is a me thing. You know, it's happening to me for some reason. I just have to face it head on, and how I choose to respond to it is all based on me, and that's also based on me coming up with coping mechanisms, me attacking why I feel the way I feel, me understanding it, you know, because we all incline to different things, you know. So jealousy literally needs you to stand up, you know, and say, okay, I'm feeling this way. Why am I feeling this way? And if you don't do that, you might find yourself suddenly one day in people's comment sections saying negative and nasty things just to make yourself feel better, because you're avoiding having that open and honest conversation with yourself because nobody's told you that it's okay to do so, or you're avoiding to do it because you really, 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 really don't want to have that conversation with yourself. And it's okay, you know, it's okay. It is so okay to have those conversations with yourself. It's so okay to be like, okay, why am I feeling this way? This is why I'm feeling this way. What am I going to do about this going forward? It's okay. Address your feelings, address your pain, and maybe it won't overcome you, you know. And don't be ashamed about not being able to respond the way you wanted to respond in the moment. Sometimes you only know how to respond to something when the moment has passed, you know. And also, you know your journey, so try your best to explain in situations where you can, because obviously the people you're most jealous of are your friends or your cousins or anybody who's in your peer group most of the time, or anybody in your workspace. So try, if you can, to just have a conversation with those people as well, and just say, I was feeling like this, I'm sorry, I shouldn't feel like this, it's not your fault that I'm going through A, B, C, and D, but I'm trying to overcome. You know, I personally think so many things can be ironed out with a conversation. Personally, me, like, I see people fighting sometimes and I'm just like, all y'all need is an open and honest conversation. But people are afraid of open and honest conversations with other people because you don't know how people are going to respond to you and to your own truths. But do not be afraid of open and honest conversations with yourself. Those are absolutely important. There is no way that you can go through life and not have those conversations with yourself. I feel like you can avoid them with other people. You can lie to other people, but you can never lie to yourself. So don't find yourself in that situation where you're lying to yourself now, because it's just easier to do so, you know. And like I said, don't be ashamed if you're not quite there yet, or you're not there at all, and you like literally are starting from the bottom. Like, don't be afraid, don't be ashamed. It's okay. We are learning, we are trying, and we can't let people shame us into doing things the way that they do them just because they're not inclined to the same type of issues that we are. And I hate it so much when people who aren't inclined to the same issues, like, you know, like some people are more inclined to envy, some people are more inclined to being angry, some people are more inclined to being sad, you know, and some people are more inclined to being jealous. So I hate it when people who aren't inclined to, let's say, jealousy, who will come and say to you, oh, don't be jealous, just because jealousy is an emotion that doesn't affect them as much as it affects you, but then don't provide you with ways in which you can deal with it, but just tell you not to be jealous because they don't get jealous, and that's it. I hate that so much. Like, if you're gonna help me, you know, walk me through the steps that you've taken, or walk me through to the coping mechanisms that you use naturally, that come naturally to you, so that I too may benefit. But don't just say don't be jealous and keep it moving and expect that to be enough for me, and then say you care for me. It's just, yeah, like, I don't know, maybe I'm bambling, but I just feel like people who care about you go an extra mile to actually help you, as opposed to just make you feel stupid or just make you feel bad for something that they don't have to deal with, you know. Yeah. So anyway, I know a lot of us deal with jealousy, and I know it's a topic that sometimes we don't want to talk about because, oh my gosh, I don't get jealous. So yeah, please comment down below how you handle your jealousy. Let us know how you cope, but obviously constructive coping mechanism, please, guys. Just ways in which you deal with it yourself. And yeah, I hope you guys like this video. I am really enjoying making these, actually. So I'll see you guys next time. Bye.